"How long have you been here?" the doctor asked, his analytical gaze resting on the new nurse. His voice was gentle, but conveyed undeniable authority. Sharon felt her cheeks blush, warmed by the sudden focus of attention. She was used to being invisible, working in the shadows of the nursing room. "Only 3 days," she replied, her voice somewhat shaky, trying to mask her insecurity. He nodded, a playful smile playing on his lips. "That's why I hadn't noticed you. What's your name?" "Sharon," she answered, her voice becoming firmer. "Sharon, nice to meet you." "I'm Daniel," the doctor introduced himself, extending a friendly hand. Then he walked down the corridor, his upright posture contrasting with the chaos of the ward. In the next moment, the veteran nurse behind the reception desk, filling out records, turned abruptly to Sharon. Her piercing gaze met the surprised eyes of the newcomer, and without mincing words, she warned, "Don't even think about it." Sharon furrowed her brow, perplexed. "Think about what?" she asked, a tinge of confusion coloring her words. With a stern tone, the veteran nurse laid bare the harsh reality. "Don't think about getting involved with Daniel. He's been the director's lover for a long time. Every nurse who tried something with him got fired. And believe me, with the economic crisis, it's not easy to find a job with such a good salary." "Relax, I wasn't even thinking about that," Sharon protested quickly, raising her hands in a defensive gesture. "I didn't come here to flirt. I came to work." "Better that way," growled the nurse, returning to her work. Intrigued, Sharon stepped away to deliver medication, an unspoken question lingering in her mind. Daniel was incredibly young for a department typically led by individuals aged 45 or older. How could that be possible? However, she pushed the question to the back of her mind. It didn't matter who was having an affair with whom. After all, she wasn't interested in Daniel. Right at lunchtime, the head nurse entered the ward, interrupting her thoughts. Right at the stroke of noon, the door to the ward swung open, and the imposing figure of the head nurse emerged. The woman, of medium stature but with a presence that filled the entire room, strode across the space with determined steps. "Ladies," she called out with an authoritative voice that instantly commanded attention. "We need help attending to the patient in room 7. Madison is alone with her. Any volunteers?" The request sparked an instant buzz among the nurses. The resident in room 7 was a peculiar patient, weighing around 150 kilograms and with both legs broken. Moreover, she was known for her combative temperament and shrill voice that could be heard all the way down the hallway. With no close relatives but wealthy enough to afford treatment at a private clinic, she was a rather unique figure. She rarely allowed anyone to enter her room, except for her caregiver. The clinic rumors had it that she was a successful businesswoman who, afraid of exposing herself in a moment of vulnerability, insisted on complete privacy. According to gossip, she had broken her legs after hiring a personal trainer in an attempt to lose weight. But the truth was that no one knew for sure. Everyone just knew it was better not to argue with her. Faced with the request for help, Sharon stood up, staring at the head nurse with determination. "I can help. It won't be a problem for me. It's my break time, so instead of being idle, I prefer to do something useful," she said with a resolve that surprised the room. The head nurse assessed her over her reading glasses, a shadow of surprise marking her normally impassive features amid murmurs and movements. The other nurses resumed their activities, relieved to not have to deal with the patient in room 7. "Thank you, Sharon," the head nurse thanked her, a rare smile lighting up her face. "Madison is waiting for you in the room. You can go." Sharon, with a determined breath, walked towards the door that led out to room 7, the muffled sound of curses coming from inside. It was the patient who, with an almost admirable persistence, always found reasons to be dissatisfied upon opening the door. A cautious hello escaped her lips. The patient, an enraged woman who seemed to feed on her own discontent, remained silent for a moment, her sharp eyes assessing Sharon. Apparently, the mere sight of the young nurse sparked a new wave of irritation in her. "Couldn't they find someone more competent?" the patient complained, the acidity in her voice indicating her low opinion of Sharon's competence. "Do you think I'm not strong enough?" Sharon retorted, trying to infuse confidence into her voice. The patient, however, only grumbled in response, "Strong, huh? I bet you're real strong." To Sharon's surprise, despite the tumultuous start, the interaction was surprisingly calm from that point on. An hour later, when she was released, the patient behaved almost peacefully. Nurse Madison even said later, with an amused smile, "I think you cast a spell on her." Sharon returned the smile before turning her eyes to the group of nurses gathered around the window. Daniel was also there, everyone looking outside, laughing and commenting mockingly, "Look at her, the slippery old lady again." The group's contagious laughter made Sharon approach, curious. "What are you laughing about?" she asked, looking out the window. Outside, on the sidewalk covered in fresh snow that had fallen after the previous day's rain, an elderly woman stumbled uncertainly. With each faltering step, she slipped, a spectacle that apparently had been repeating for some time, given the number of spectators at the window. Daniel, with a mischievous smile, exclaimed, "We should place bets on how many attempts she'll need." The laughter intensified among the young nurses, but Sharon looked at them, horrified. "What are you all doing? She's an elderly person. I can't believe this. Instead of laughing, you should go and help her." Everyone present turned their gaze to Sharon, looks of astonishment in disbelief. Breaking the silence that had settled, Daniel spoke with a sarcastic laugh in his voice. "So that's it? We are supposed to drop everything and rush to help a homeless lady?" Indignant at their insensitivity, Sharon retorted, "What does it matter if she doesn't have a home? She a human being in need of help." Sharon's response provoked laughter among them, laughter that mocked her with the same cruelty they had previously directed at the elderly woman helper. Daniel questioned, looking at Sharon with a cynical smile on his face. "Run, run," he jeered, fueling the laughter of the nurses around. Not allowing herself to be intimidated by the mockery, Sharon spun on her heels and dashed toward the exit. She could feel everyone's eyes on her, their figures still visible through the window as she ran. But Sharon didn't care. Her attention was fully focused on the fragile figure of the old woman on the sidewalk, wearing nothing but a robe in the biting cold. With a voice filled with kindness, Sharon spoke, "Let me help you." The older woman lifted tear-filled, bright eyes to Sharon. "Are you an angel sent by God, my child? I need to cross, but I hurt myself. My hands and legs are in pain, and I can't get up." With respectful gentleness, Sharon supported the elderly woman, helping her stand. "Come on, first we need to get on our feet to regain our balance." The woman's response was one of gratitude and resignation. "Okay, I'll do as you say. I'm wearing inappropriate shoes. I thought it would be a warmer day." The old woman's voice softened, as if she found some comfort in Sharon's presence. Taking care not to frighten her, Sharon guided her. "Walk slowly, Grandma, don't be afraid, I'm here to support you." Sharon and the woman managed to make their way to the other side with short, calculated steps, taking 15 minutes. Along the way, Sharon noticed there were fewer curious faces at the hospital window. Intrigued, the elderly woman, following Sharon's gaze, waved to the window and asked, "Do you also work at that place?" "Yes," Sharon replied, with a slight embarrassment. "Don't judge them based on their actions." The old woman responded with a serene voice, a friendly smile on her tired face, "I'm not offended by them." The sense of guilt and empathy made Sharon murmur an apology, "I'm sorry for them." Taking a closer look at the elderly woman, Sharon noticed that despite the worn and frayed clothes, the woman was clean and emitted a gentle fragrance. Distinction and dignity were evident in her posture and voice. With a mix of curiosity and concern, Sharon asked, "Do you have somewhere I can take you?" The old woman's response came with a soft laugh, "Dear, certainly. I don't live far from here." With relief clearly displayed on her face, Sharon wished her good luck. "Well, then, I wish you luck. Now I need to get back to work." Gratitude was evident in the woman's voice as she said, "Thank you so much." And with that, Sharon spun on her heels and hastened her steps back to the hospital, while the elderly woman watched her depart with an affectionate gaze. Then, The woman turned her gaze to the hospital window, which had been bustling with faces before but now was empty. With a heavy sigh, the old woman murmured to herself, "What kind of people are they? Laughing at my expense, and only one brave young woman was willing to help. Now she will likely face consequences for her kindness." After reflecting for a moment, the elderly woman seemed to have come to a decision. She began to walk with a faster and more determined pace. Instead of heading home, she went in the opposite direction, toward an elegant and imposing office building not far from the hospital. "Mother, are you okay?" Oliver, who ran a small yet highly profitable company, looked at his elderly mother with concern. "My friends and I were helping with the cleaning at the orphanage today, my son," she replied, with a tired but contented smile. "Mother, you're already 72 years old. You need to rest more." "You and your senior friends are completely insane," exclaimed Oliver, shaking his head in disbelief. "Oliver, don't you dare insult me or my friends. Yes, we may be elderly, but if you knew how much we long to do something useful and meaningful." Her voice sounded firm and determined. Oliver, understanding his mother's resilience, knew that she, Eliza, and all the other ladies, mothers of businessmen like him, were long friends. It was evident that the drive and determination they showed in their volunteer activities were an extension of their strong personalities. On several occasions Oliver and others had to intervene to get them out of problematic situations. After some rest, the ladies always resumed their philanthropic activities. Last time, Oliver had to rescue them from a police station after they had assaulted a man attacking a street child. Initially, Oliver didn't believe it, but the reality of the facts narrated by the police made him reconsider. Eventually, the ladies would buy essential items and head to the most impoverished neighborhoods, distributing everything to the children in an attempt to bring some solace to their lives. During one of these occasions, a drama unfolded in a nearby house, where a drunken husband was beating his wife, and a 7-year-old girl was trying to protect her mother. When the gentle words and pleas the elderly women used to calm the situation had no effect, they didn't hesitate. Armed with their canes, they advanced into the fight with a courage that belied their ages. The man was sent to the hospital, murmuring solemn promises to never touch a bottle of alcohol again. "Mother, you didn't just come to tell me that, did you?" Oliver asked, realizing there was something more behind the unexpected visit. "No, actually not," she confirmed, her eyes shining with determination. "I need your help to defend an extremely kind and compassionate girl." "Defend?" Oliver asked, confused. "Honestly, son, I don't have all the answers. All I know is that this young girl needs our help," the elderly woman replied, her eyes expressing an unwavering fervor. Sharon walked dejectedly towards her workplace, an invisible weight on her shoulders. By the end of her shift, everyone who crossed her path would scrunch their nose with their fingers, insinuating that she exuded the odor of a homeless person. Although Sharon tried to ignore the glances and malicious comments, the pain was unavoidable, and she knew she would have to face that hostile environment again the next day. And the prediction didn't fail. Daniel was the first to cross her path. "Oh Sharon, I hope you washed all your clothes. I wouldn't want to smell that woman again," Daniel commented with a malicious smile. Sharon's response came quick and defiant. "Why did I smell bad?" "Well, you know I avoided breathing near you so I wouldn't have to smell that odor," retorted Daniel, his voice dripping with irony. At that moment, a patient from room 7, being pushed in a wheelchair, interrupted the conversation. Sharon didn't have a chance to respond to Daniel's taunt as the patient stopped the nurse pushing her. "Young lady, don't listen to this nonsense. If this young man were a true man, he would have helped that woman instead of standing at the window watching like the others. I'm aware of your situation, and I believe those laughing at the window should be the ones subjected to mockery." Daniel was left speechless as the patient gave him a disapproving look before motioning for the nurse to continue. With a radiant smile, Sharon turned around and walked towards the nursing station. However, Daniel still tried to strike her with one last provocation. "I guess someone who associates with homeless people doesn't belong in a private hospital. You should work in a nursing home instead." Unwavering, Sharon didn't turn around and continued her work. However, an hour later, she was summoned to the office of the head physician of the ward. "Sharon, the administration is looking for you," the doctor declared with a disdainful tone. "You don't belong in this place. I've said it before, you're the kind of person who attends to homeless individuals. I'm sure you would be much welcomed in a retirement home or a similar place." The words echoed in Sharon's ears, stirring a mix of fear and indignation. "Why? All I did was help someone in need," she argued, her voice trembling. Nevertheless, she made her way towards the administration office, her heart racing in her chest. Daniel, who seemed to be observing the scene with a certain delight, walked beside her through the cold, echoing corridors of the hospital. "Good luck," he said with a smug smile that couldn't hide his satisfaction. "Sharon, please come in," beckoned the head physician. She had only seen the esteemed head physician of the hospital once before, so she felt her knees weaken under the weight of tension. He wasn't alone. Standing beside him with an upright posture was a young man impeccably dressed. A wave of shock ran through Sharon's body as she recognized that face from the advertisements of famous cosmetic products produced by him and his company. "This is Sharon, Mr. Oliver Sheridan has come specifically to meet us. You must recognize him, right?" the head physician said, his solemn voice resonating in the room. "Yes, of course," Sharon replied, her voice barely more than a whisper. "He's here to thank you," the head physician continued, causing Sharon to widen her eyes in surprise. "Me? But why?" Sharon was visibly confused. "I presume he might have a relative admitted to the hospital," the head physician suggested, casting a questioning glance at Oliver. Oliver took a step forward. His mother, Eliza, had mentioned that the young nurse was beautiful and kind, but seeing her in person made him realize that words of gratitude would be insufficient. His desire was to invite her to a dinner at a luxurious restaurant, or gift her something truly valuable as a token of his deep gratitude. "Sharon, it was my mother you helped yesterday," Oliver revealed, his voice reverberating in the silent room. She widened her eyes in surprise, an expression of disbelief adorning her face. "Don't be so stunned," Oliver continued, a gentle smile smoothing his features. "My mother leads a troupe of ladies dedicated to making the world a kinder and more compassionate place. But that's a long story I'll be glad to share. Honestly, I can't express my gratitude enough. I requested your supervisor to grant you a bonus. Additionally, I'd like to invite you for dinner with my mother and me at the finest restaurant in town. What do you think?" Sharon, for some unfathomable reason, agreed, and Oliver's smile widened. "Wonderful. We'll meet tonight then. What time does your shift end?" Sharon was already gripping the doorknob when the voice of the head physician called her back. "Sharon, please ask Dr. Daniel Morris to come see me. I think it's time to teach him a lesson in humanity," the head physician said, his voice as serious as his gaze. That night, as the moon hung high in the night sky, Oliver and Sharon walked out of the hospital together. Throughout the rest of the day, Daniel and some of the nurses had avoided contact with Sharon, while the head nurse had held onto her arm firmly. A large black SUV was parked in front of the hospital. Oliver, with surprising agility, hopped out of the vehicle to greet her. "Sharon, good evening. Please, come in. We have a reserved table waiting for us at the restaurant," he said, opening the car door for her with a gentlemanly gesture. From that day on, the dynamics at the clinic changed considerably. Although some staff members displayed more closed-off expressions when Sharon was around, she didn't let it discourage her. On the other hand, her bond with Oliver grew stronger, blossoming from friendship into a deeper and more meaningful relationship. Eliza was overjoyed. After many conversations and reflections, Sharon and Oliver decided together that it might be best for her to leave her job at the clinic. It wasn't a decision made lightly. Sharon loved nursing and dedicated herself wholeheartedly to her profession. However, the oppressive atmosphere that had settled after the dinner at the restaurant, combined with Daniel and some colleagues' constant provocations, made the work environment unbearable. "Sharon, you're brilliant and dedicated," Oliver said in one of their conversations, You don't deserve to be in a place where they don't value your empathy and professionalism. The world is full of opportunities. We can explore new horizons together. Sharon, after carefully considering his words, finally agreed. Thus, she made the decision to bid farewell to the clinic in search of a place where she could thrive, where her kindness and compassion would be considered virtues, not flaws. She wasn't alone on this journey. With Oliver by her side, she felt confident and hopeful, ready to face whatever the future held for them. Together, they moved forward, towards new challenges but also new joys, in the vast horizon unfolding ahead. And what about you? What would you do in Sharon's place in the face of the situation with Eliza? Let me know in the comments, as I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more fascinating life stories. Thank you.